Welcome, my name is John Glanville. This is video 15 part 2 in the Calmness in Mind series. In the last video we explored how as we become calmer it seems that the body naturally wants to release trapped trauma, or what we might call stuck energy, out of our atoms, which makes us feel lighter, raises our frequency, improves our health, and slowly recalibrates our feelings of emotional well-being. And how through meditation we can become more cognizant of where we're placing our attention. Is it on the objective, ego-driven world out there, or on the more inner, more subjective, less solid, more non-linear world in here, where time, rules and identity are really quite irrelevant? You can be whoever you want to be inside your head. You can make a whole new pleasant subjective reality within yourself, regardless of the truth of what's happening out there. Potentially it can be heaven in your mind and body, regardless of the hell out there. It could be crap out there, okay, but feel perfectly okay in here, especially if you have no story about it. And especially if you have no landmines being triggered within you. Okay, can you see how my metaphor's unfolding? I'm very lucky, grateful, happy to live with a naturally happy and optimistic woman. And let me offer you a glimpse of how her mind works. She says things like, why do people worry about things that haven't happened yet? Surely that'll just make them feel bad. Why would they do that? She says things like, I'm so lucky, even when bad things happen, there's usually something brilliant that comes out of it. She says things like, plans are boring, let's just see what happens. She says, rules are for other people, not me. She says, death is just a new beginning, a chance to discover new things, how exciting. She says, why don't people like sex? That's just crazy. She says, why is everybody so serious? She says, if a past event was sad, just change the story of what happened or forget it. Why would you keep a horrible story in your head? Now I'm telling you this because I want you to see that we don't all think the same way. Can you see how she has a completely different perspective, and she has alternative stories from that of a typically anxious person? And remember, this course is not about being right. It's not even about the truth. It's about how can we find strategies that allow you to be calm and happy within yourself, regardless of what's happening outside of yourself. As the rider of your horse, as your soul, if you believe that, or as your formless 20-year-old, the observer, if you don't, okay, your job is to use your horse, okay, use your body as a tool to ride out and to experience your life. Learn all you can learn. Try everything and have fun with this most amazing tool, which is the human body. And remember, as the rider, you can only influence the horse. You can never fully control it. But you don't have to be fearful, even if the conditioned little horsey is being nervous and scared. To enable this, you have to experiment, practice and learn how, as the observer, as the formless aspect of yourself, how you can become even if your body is not. It takes a while, but if you do the work, it's possible, and I can promise you it's a game changer. So a quick reminder from the last video. The metaphor we're using is like a bomb disposal specialist looking at a plot of overgrown land, knowing there's some landmines in there but not knowing where. And you're going to take a big stick and start prodding all over the land, searching, exploring everywhere, until bang, you found one, okay? And then off you again until every square foot of the land has been tested. And what if these landmines were nested, one under the other, one buried under another? It could be that you need to go around a second time or a third time, okay, to see what's buried down underneath there. And the bomb disposal guy, of course, is your conscious mind. And the land is your unconscious, where these traumas and these repressed memories are hidden. We are seeking to unearth, untangle and then lovingly neutralize via a controlled explosion, venting up that stored potential energy. So it can come out through dissipation via kinetic energy, which feels like anxiety, but it's not. It's just an agitation that the horsey doesn't like yet. But to the formless rider, it's fine. You can be calm even if your body's not. Now, I don't normally do this, but I'm going to put a few sensible rules around this meditation. Firstly, if you're in therapy, perhaps discuss with your therapist about your intentions, because it may be prudent to learn this meditation process and then ask them to be with you the first time you actually do it. Or share this process with your partner, who could easily calm you down if necessary. Secondly, if your anxiety is still hugely overwhelming, you may not be ready for this. Or perhaps you need to go back to some of the earlier videos, read all the books I've recommended, especially if you haven't done it yet. Do some more tapping, do some more exposure therapy until you're feeling a little bit better. Alternatively, you can just dive in, knowing that it may be scary, but just embrace what happens, surrender deeply in one go. This may save you a lifetime of worry and procrastination. Thirdly, if your OCD is about false memories and fears about whether you did or didn't do something in the past, well, I hope you're beginning to see that this is really what the human condition is all about, okay? And I think it's best just to accept it and dive in. If the step scares you, then don't do it. You'll stay stuck, but at least you'll know that it was your decision to remain stuck. And the final group are those taking antipsychotic drugs. And I would certainly suggest that you check with your doctor before you embark on a meditation where you will be looking back over your past life. Anyway, watch the video and see what I'm doing, and then you can decide what is best for you. But I think you already know the answer. So let's look at the process that you'll be learning to do as you rest or meditate at night, or in any moments that you're awake at night and you can't sleep, because I think this is a great use of time. The first concept is to imagine that within you are two types of stuck trauma, trapped energy, held down frustrations, call them whatever you like. The first ones are ones that you know about, things that happened to you in your life, that time that you were bullied, someone passed away, your pet died, you lost your job. And there are the second type, which are the ones that we don't know that are there. Like when a person pushes your button and you fire off and they say, why did you get all angry like that? And you say, well, I don't really know. These are the landmines that we're looking for, that we're searching and hunting for. And to find these, we need to prod every memory and every experience we ever had, no matter how seemingly minuscule or inoffensive they may appear. Like for example, in my last video, I talked about nearly getting killed by a bull stampede when I was on a camping holiday in my childhood. Consciously, I would never have thought to look for a landmine there, because my conscious story was that was a fun holiday and nothing bad happened. However, I was wrong. My unconscious was hiding a trauma. In addition, there are events from the past that you think you might have dealt with, but there may still be landmines and emotional pain buried deeper down, needing to be dug up or revealed behind your cover stories of denial, guilt, blame, unfairness, self-worth, or just plain repression. What I'm saying is we need to slowly, lovingly, and repetitively, over a long period of time, okay, each night as we do our meditation, keep going back to the events of our past, back to the events of our life, and keep prodding around, trying to discover and release trapped trauma. However, we're not looking for answers. We're not asking, why did they do this or why did I do that? We are separating the story from the emotion. This is really, really important, okay? We'll be using the story to access the emotion, and then as the emotion arises, we're going to detach the story and place our awareness on the emotions and the feelings and the energy as it arises out of us. As this happens, our atomic energy battery is being discharged. Remember, the stuck energy is just stuck energy. Once it's stored in there, it's no longer attached to the memory. It's just energy held in your atoms that serves your health better by not being there. For me, the best way to visualize this is a bottle of soda with the lid on. Okay, all you can see is a liquid. There's no real bubbles in there anywhere. But when you crack the lid open and the pressure is released, all those pressurized bubbles appear out of nowhere, and they all rise up to the top, fizzing and exploding. Stored potential energy escaping as kinetic energy through the agitation of matter. And if we keep shaking it up and releasing the lid, then shaking it up and releasing the pressure, eventually all that trapped energy is gone. The drink is flat, calm, non-volatile. Even if you shake it and you open it, it stays calm. You could say its atomic energy battery has been discharged. And this is what we're going to be doing to ourselves by finding and safely detonating these landmines, the legacy trauma of past events hidden within us. So let me detail how this meditation works. What you do is you get yourself settled down somewhere. If you fall asleep easily, I would recommend that you sit up in a straight back chair. If you don't, you can lie down or sit comfortably. I used to do this lying in bed before I went to sleep, or if I woke up in the middle of the night and I couldn't get back to sleep. So it was a really effective use of my time. If you know how to relax yourself, then spend 5 minutes relaxing. If not, then I would say listen to 5 or 10 minutes of a relaxing recording that you like, or the first 5 or 10 minutes of my relaxation audio. And once you're relaxed, I want you to apply the process that I'm about to teach you in any way that works for you. You'll need to play around with it. You'll need to make it your own. You'll need to experiment with it to find out what works for you. So you imagine a clear plastic bottle of soda with the lid cracked open only a tiny bit. So all that pressure is not rushing out, but if some energy wanted to come out, it could escape. You then imagine, in your imagination, you divide the bottle into 3 sections. And we label the middle section as number 1, section number 1, and we call that the now. And this represents what issues and stresses that you are facing in your life now. And this period of now, it kind of stretches back for 6 months and perhaps goes forward for 6 months and encompasses the challenges that you're currently facing. Employment, health, relationships, parents, neighbours, money, children, moving house, resolving issues, accepting change, letting go of anxiety, whatever it is you're facing. And in your imagination, I want you to see each of these challenges as a little bubble of pressure in that section, representing metaphorically trapped energy in your atoms, all pressurized and naturally wanting to discharge but stuck in there. I think this is the natural human way. Emotions, energy in motion, stress release, letting go, crying out, venting your frustrations, all the very things that are natural, but that school and society try to stop us from doing. It's quite a shame. So we now label the top section as part 2, and we call that the future. Here we placed our deepest fears for the future, our death, the death of those we love, our house being repossessed, a partner leaving us, being made redundant, financial difficulties, future illness or pain. I know this is ugly, I know it's scary, and it will bring up deep emotions, but I say good, because this is what we're trying to do here. We're trying to vent trapped emotions. In a way, we are doing exposure therapy on our fears. We're doing exposure therapy on our thoughts, and any pain that may come up, logically, it makes complete sense, okay? However, of course, there's going to be some emotional pain, but we're just going to become the observer of that. We are learning to accept, to surrender, because people will die. Jobs will be lost. Some people will become ill. Denial is rarely a sensible strategy, especially if calmness and happiness are your goal. Also, by imagining the death of a person you love now, imagining you're standing in church now, delivering their epitaph, will bring up all your emotions and release all the energy from all the other times that you didn't fully grieve. Okay? And you can do this all from the safety of your bed. So I say, sob your heart out. It's okay. It's fine. Now, for those of you whose first response back to me is, I can't do that because of the law of attraction will make it happen. The collapsing of the sea of potentiality into reality based on my thoughts. Then I would say, respectfully, then you don't really understand the principles of physics. Plus, surely, this is what you're doing, running endless anxious and OCD catastrophic stories in your mind, none of which happen, okay, but do leave you completely and utterly exhausted. Now, that's a whole other video for the future, but let me give you a simple metaphor, as is my way. As you discharge your atomic battery, you become lighter, your frequency rises, more energy is available to you from inside of you and outside of you. An underlying mandate is that we attract to us that which resonates at our frequency or lower, like magnets. Depressed people don't attract happy people, okay? They attract other depressed people. Birds of a feather flock together. Right? Misery loves company. And as you release this stored energy and your frequency rises, right? So happy people do attract other happy people, at that same energetic level, as well as attracting the depressed people below them being pulled up from their lower energy level, who they need to protect their energy from, else it will be leached out. So one of the most powerful things you can do is to discharge your atomic battery, kind of metaphorically let go of the karma you've been unknowingly dragging around with you. You become lighter, and then wonderful things start to happen, not least of all, health. Back to my story, back to the meditation. We label the bottom section, section 3, and we call it the past. And here is where we visually place little bubbles of trauma from all the negative things that ever happened to us. That first day at school, that embarrassing moment, that rejection, that horrific thing that happened to us that scared us, the separation of our parents, that jealousy moment, that scary time in hospital, the recital that went wrong, the passing of granddad. We see all these past events as experiences that could have pushed emotions down into our atoms, where they become stuck. So of course, our goal over time will be to release the trauma attached behind all these events. Now, back in section 3 at the bottom there, which is the past, I'd like you to add a few more bubbles of a different color, okay? 3, 4, 5, okay, with little question marks in the middle of each one. And these will represent those repressed traumas that our unconscious mind has hidden from us, where the story has been changed. Here the meditation is about creating a calm and safe environment for these to be released as we prod around looking at the past events of our life, that where perhaps we thought everything was okay, but there may have been some trauma attached. So that's our simple model, okay? Section 1 in the middle is the now, section 2 at the top is the future, and section 3 at the bottom is the past. And our meditation starts with our focus on section 1 in the middle. It's the now. In your mind, as you sit there quietly in your meditation, you pick one of your bubbles of stress in the now. A current topic of worry. Let's say it's the fear you might lose your job, okay? Or some other difficulty at work. And now you use your imagination to actually picture that event happening to you. You try to run the story that brings on an emotion within your body. Now, some people are quite visual and they find this task reasonably simple, while others have more of a thinking kind of thought process, okay, rather than a visual one. Either one you use is fine, okay? Just do your best to run a story about the perceived stressor that's worrying you with a view for you to bring up an emotion within your body. Stay out of looking for solutions. We are just trying to use the story of that recently passed or soon to be happening event to bring up an emotion, be that sadness, frustration, grief, loss, regret, anger, jealousy, embarrassment, rage, or whatever. We are not trying to solve the problem, okay? We're not trying to figure out why it happened or what you need to do about it. We are just rerunning the story of that event in your mind to kick off the emotions within your body. I know this goes against some of the things that we've been doing so far in this course, but that's okay. Yeah? We're learning that thoughts don't really mean anything, okay? But they do kick off feelings, and it's possible to let feelings move through you. Emotions, energy in motion. And through this practice, it's possible to become comfortable feeling discomfort. Remember, we're not looking to find solutions. We're not looking to solve problems. Just use the story of the event to trick your body into releasing an emotion, and for you to not inhibit that emotion from rising within your body, regardless of the discomfort or fear that they may invoke within you. There's no right and there's no wrong way to do this. You just need to experiment with what works for you. Now, when an emotion arises, one of three things is likely to happen. Firstly, the emotion will arise, and as it does, I want you as the observer to take your attention off of the story and place your focus on the emotion that you're experiencing. And I want you to just try to be with and accept that emotion with no further story about the emotion. We're learning to just allow emotions to move through us, to not resist them, to not fear them. And this is the skill that you will be learning to master. Often as the emotions come up, old anxiety or OCD stories in your mind may grab your attention and hook you, the observer, away from watching the emotions and back into a story in your mind. That's okay. Just realize your attention has been hooked and place your awareness back onto observing, okay, and accepting the emotion. Just be with it. Let it do whatever it does, okay? It's fine, okay? Become intrigued by it. Where does it move to? Where can you feel it? Is it intensifying? Is it diminishing? If it becomes a little overwhelming, or if the stories in your mind become too loud, start a soft, slow and gentle mantra silently in your conscious mind, or out loud. I accept this emotion. I accept this emotion. And bring your observer, your intention, back to the emotion. And for those of you who are finding more courage through this process, and I know a lot of you are because you'll be telling me about this, I would encourage you to use the word surrender. I surrender to this emotion. Okay? Sag your body, keep your awareness on the emotion, and start a gentle breathing process like we discussed earlier on. Take a long, slow breath in, hold it for 3 or 4 seconds, then breathe it out with some pursed resistance. And let your lungs just draw the air back in, okay? It just resets all your systems back to calmness, invokes your internal calmness systems. And you stay with the emotion until it passes. Could be 30 seconds, could be 3 minutes, could be 10 minutes. It doesn't matter. When it ends, it ends. Sit with it and accept it. I surrender to this emotion. Now, the second thing that may happen when you run a story about the event and try to kick off an emotion is nothing. You run the story, but nothing happens, okay? Now, this is perfectly fine, and it's actually very, very normal. In fact, as you get better and better at this process, this feeling of nothing is going to happen most of the time, okay? So here's what you do. When you run the story, but no emotions arise, you stop the story, and you place your observer's attention into your torso, okay? From your hips to your neck. And you keep your attention there for about 1.5 minutes, okay? This serves 3 purposes. For you to learn to keep your awareness off your mind and onto your body, okay? And if your mind hooks you, you just bring it back. Nice, gently, you smile, it got me, fair enough, I bring my attention back. Then it allows you to realize that we have a rich internal world of sensations. We humans are so focused on the external world that we can feel an ant walking on our skin, okay? But we can't feel our own heart beating or our own blood moving around the inside of our body. And what I'm wanting you to do is to begin to connect with the sensation of life within you, okay? This is really, really important, okay? And the last thing, which is quite rare, but it does happen, is as you run the story, okay, but no emotion arises, and as you place your attention into your torso, just for a couple of minutes, that experience, okay, of just sitting there, gently feeling nothing, gently thinking nothing, is sometimes the time where the unconscious mind releases repressed memories. It seems as though as you learn to be calmer and as you learn to keep your attention away from the thoughts and on the body, there's kind of a space for these new awarenesses to arise up out of your unconscious mind. And the final way that an emotion may be released is via a sensation personal to you. I told you about my left hand going numb when I meditated, and about a pressure in my nose and my face. These were the parts of my body that had experienced physical trauma. And the more you do this kind of work, you will almost certainly find that there are one or two parts of your body that seem to repeatedly experience these sensations. These are like twitches, quivers, numbness, tingles, shots of electricity, especially in your hands, feet, legs, arms, face, neck and chest. And as you discover these, I would like you to become intrigued by them. See them as your body's way of not only venting trauma, but also unconsciously communicating with you. Okay? My left hand goes numb when my unconscious body is telling me that something's wrong. It's kind of like a warning signal. Our conscious mind works in such a narrow field of perception that if we are consciously focusing on a task, it consumes most of our conscious attention, our awareness. However, in the background, okay, our unconscious is still scanning all around us for everything to try and keep us safe. If it senses danger, it has to alert you via big emotion, big enough to break your conscious attention on what you're engrossed into to get your attention. However, as you find and develop these subtle feedback locations and sensations, the unconscious doesn't have to flood you with warning chemicals. It just gently sends you a signal. If my left hand goes numb, I pay attention to what's happening around me, or at least I'm aware that whatever I'm consciously doing, there is some unconscious resistance to it. Okay? We're going to talk about a lot more about this in the future. So, if you run a story about the event to get an emotion and you get a strange sensation in your body, like my left hand going numb, you stop the story and you place your attention, your awareness into that sensation. And just be with it, okay? Let it do whatever it does. It may move around, it may intensify, it may dissipate. Keep your attention with it until it goes. If the stories in your mind hook your attention, that's okay. Just bring your awareness back to the feeling. This is what you're learning to do, to keep your awareness in one place. And then you jump to the next bubble of pain, okay, in the now section of the soda bottle, and you run the story until you get an emotion. The emotion arises, you accept it, okay, or if there's no emotion, you just keep your attention on your torso, and if there's a unique sensation, you place your attention on there until it stops. This is the process that we're looking to do. It's very simple. We're not looking for answers, we're just processing emotions. And I would suggest that you find 20 minutes a day. I think first thing in the morning is good, last thing at night, or if you awaken in the night, or if you already have a meditation routine, then I think build this in, find a way to fit it in. My suggestion is for a week or two, you focus on the bubbles in section 1, the now. Go around a few times. Pull up all the things you fear. Don't look for answers. Just use the events. Just use the events and your fears to pull up the emotions and then surrender to them. Be with them fully. It's like the tapping end of day decompression routine I explained to you in video 14. We're just now doing it in a different way. Rather than thinking and tapping, we're just thinking and letting it come up. It's a braver way of doing this. After a week or two, you'll be ready for section 2. The future, where we pick a bubble of fear from the scary things that may happen in the future. Death, illness, loss, rejection. However, by now, you will have a very different relationship with your emotions. Kind of detached and accepting. Just something that happened within you. And you kind of can be okay with them. Because If you think about it, love, exhilaration, excitement, fun, these are big emotions, and you want those as well, don't you? Okay, so learning to be okay with emotions is really key. So when you're ready, you move to section 2, the future. You imagine an emotional event in the future, your death, a loved one's death. It really doesn't matter, okay? You run the story in your mind, and you do your best to generate the feeling in your body. As it arises, you stop the story and you be with the emotion. And as before, there will be an emotion or nothing or your unique feedback sensation. Deal with them as we've previously described. If you need to breathe or use the I surrender mantra to keep yourself engaged and not overwhelmed, absolutely fine. Find your way of doing this. And once you get more comfortable with your emotions coming up, as they fade away, you might want to jump back to the story to see if you can't reignite them and pull them back up again, okay? See if you can't maximize the pulling up of these emotions. Now, when you get to this step, it's kind of interesting because you're no longer, you don't like the emotions, but you're not scared of them. You go, I can take this further, I can let this out. Then you jump to the next fear bubble about the future. Imagine yourself being made redundant, and off you go around the process again. Not looking for answers, just venting trapped emotions. Learning how to control where we place our awareness, becoming cognizant of our inner body sensations, and offering our unconscious the gentle space for repressed memories and trauma to pop up. We're decompressing our biology. After a week or so of working with the future, you may be ready for section 3 at the bottom there, which is the past. And I call this final process growing yourself up. Here we're going to release the trauma linked to events from your past. And importantly, we're going to go hunting for any hidden traumas by prodding around, looking for landmines in the places where you might not expect them to be. I spent 20 minutes a night working on this section for 2 years. It became my nighttime routine before I went to sleep. It's how I decompress my day. And it became something that I really enjoyed doing. And it always surprised me that when I found and released traumas, how deeply nested they could often be. I think the best way to do this is to go back to your earliest memories. For some, that's when you're 2 or 3. For others, you're 8 or 9. It really doesn't matter. We're all different. Let's say your earliest memories are of you being 5 years old. Okay? You begin by running in your mind the stories, the negative, fearful stories of that time. What happened at that time, your first day at school, being lost in a crowd, a person shouting at you, you being reprimanded, being ill. And just like in section 1 and section 2, you run the story, you get the emotion, and don't worry if the memory is clear or not. Just try to get the emotion. Stay out of asking why it happened. Just run the story to invoke the emotion. If the emotion arises, we stop the story, we place our awareness on the emotion. We let it run its course. If you're uncomfortable, sag your body. Don't resist it. Start breathing gently and just repeat yourself, I surrender to this emotion until it passes. If there's no emotion, stop the story and place your awareness on your torso, your inner sensations of being alive. Or if your unique sensation fires off, keep your attention on that until it passes. Very, very occasionally, and I mean very occasionally, an abreaction may occur. This is when a huge emotion comes up, or you may experience uncontrollable shaking, or an arm is really twitching. And I think you must bravely see these things as wonderful events. Even though initially they may be very scary, it's in these times that we're making the biggest progress. And in these moments, we just need to surrender even more deeply. Then you jump to the next bubble in that age range. So one night you may work on events that happened when you were 5 and 6, and the next night might be 7 and 8, and so on, right up to whatever age you are now. Include relationships ending, car crashes, pet deaths, all negative events that you can think of. You can use this letting go process. You can even use it on world events that are happening around us today. After a week or two, you'll be up to the present. Now, don't rush this process. Take your time. And then we go around again, back to 4, 5, and 6, and 7. This time, drill down deeper. Pick a friend you had at school. Run the story. Sit with the emotion. If no emotion comes up, you focus on your torso. What you find may happen is suddenly memories start jumping into your mind. Oh, that was embarrassing when she was caught doing X, Y, Z. Or, oh my God, I forgot about her sister. She bullied me. Yeah? It's in the silence of sitting with it as we look through events that we may see as innocuous and just completely safe, that other little stories start coming in, okay? Go through your teachers, your holidays, at college, your first jobs, managers that you've had, clients that you've had. Perhaps even look through old photo albums from your past to remember people and events that maybe you've forgotten. Then run them through the process. We're prodding for landmines. We're reminiscing to invoke our unconscious mind to trigger the release of repressed memories. Okay? But more importantly, we want to release this emotional pain. And each time we go around, we slowly access more people, more memories. Yeah? Don't ask why things happen. Don't get into the blame game. Just let the emotions arise and surrender to them fully. And every now and then, new realizations will just arise out of nowhere. Oh, it was me who was being controlling, not them. Or, oh my God, I didn't even see the pain that they were going through. Or I don't know, my expectation from them was greater than their ability. Or, oh my God, that's not what really happened. Or, how could I have forgotten about that? These are the landmines that are hidden under all your cover stories. And as you bravely uncover them, okay, it releases the stuck energy. And you can step out of believing your old stories about yourself and start to become the person that you want to be. So when you're ready, this is the meditation I would like you to explore. It'll change your relationship with your emotions. It will enhance your ability to place your awareness on one place and to keep it there. It will also allow you to move forward and make big changes in your life, because what's the worst that will happen? The worst that will happen is you'll get some big emotion, okay? But now you're able to sit with that emotion and just let it move through your body, You'll be able to stay out of the stories of doubt and negativity because you've learned to keep your awareness somewhere else. Now in the next video, I'm going to explore strategies for understanding yourself and ways to minimize internal conflicts that will allow to give you more calmness, okay? Until then, let's go hunting for landmines and start letting go of all of these emotions. You're doing brilliant. Thank you very much indeed.